Hailing from the fertile Yakima Valley in Washington state, Monson Fruit were established more than 25 years ago and can trace their roots back as far as 1951. The team at Monson Fruit specialise in apples, cherries and pears, with apples making up about 50% of their business. With approximately 7,000 acres of apple crop under their management, the Monson Fruit team processed approximately 180,000 bins of apples each year. Their scale and focus on quality has seen Monson Fruit gain a reputation as one of Washington State's top 5 premier packers. When it comes to innovation, the team at Monson Fruit are continually reviewing the technology landscape and seeking out solutions that can add value to their business and their goal of delivering the freshest, tastiest fruit to the world. Earlier this week, I caught up with Monson's master operator, Hace, to talk through the challenges that they were looking to address regarding the lack of early size data and how Spectre top-down is transforming the early size sampling process. Hi Jarrett, great to have you with us today. Hey, before we dig in and talk through your Spectre top-down experience, let's unravel the challenges faced through a lack of early size data. For starters, let's look at size when it comes to apples. Why is it so important?
Size is a huge part of production. It allows us to schedule. Production flow is a big part of our business model. We have to keep the production line going. So understanding the size of every lot coming in can help us plan. It can help us yield higher FOBs in the future. We can put lots that are maybe better size or are going to hold up a little better color. We can extend those, put them out in a long-term CA room and yield a better pack per bin and get money back to the grower that way.
So you mentioned growers. What sort of difference does it make when fruit is either too big or too small when it goes to sale? What difference does that make for a grower?
It can make a significant difference. Just extending, maybe they have a small fruit, so maybe in 3 or 4 months from now, maybe that small fruit is going to be worth a lot more money compared to now. Maybe we can figure out that we can put that fruit in a long-term CA room and be able to export that fruit, and it just yields higher packs per bin, higher returns to the grower.
When you think about all of the blood, sweat and tears and the money that they pour into their operations just to get to harvest and all of those weather challenges, you know, getting that optimal return for them at sale time is really, really critical, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's tons of work. So if we can get it right here, that'll make the world of a difference.
So size has a major impact on what return you get for the fruit. And you've got super impressive grader machines that you use to help with all of the sorting when it comes time to pack the fruit. But how important is it to get early size data? And when I say early, I mean pretty much as soon as those trucks arrive at receiving. What are the decisions that you have to be making at that early stage?
Well, with the Hectre program, we're able to decide right off the bat. I mean, where are we going to allocate this fruit? Are we going to run it in a few days? Are we going to try to save it, try to hit the long-term market? Size just plays a factor all over the place, especially for production. Like I mentioned earlier, it helps knowing the size, helps manage flow of the production line. It keeps the line running, less stop and goes. If you can imagine, you have a small piece of fruit and a large piece of fruit. If we have a bunch of large and a bunch of small, and we run them back to back, we're going to have pile-ups in the production line and have to stop, make a lot of changes, and it's just not very cost efficient.
So when you don't have access to that early size data, what are the impacts on the business?
If you're set up for one size and then you have to make a bunch of changes to another size, you've got any time between 100, 120 people just kind of standing around waiting for operators to make a decision. Do I move fruit around? Do I save this fruit for later? What do I do? Do we pull off this lot? Do we run it right now? And so having that size data early on can make a huge difference for us.
Yeah, I was talking to a GM of a pack house the other day, and they were telling me that it's their absolute worst case scenario, having to stop that packing line. You know, you've got staff all lined up, ready to do their work, you're paying them, but they're literally just standing there doing nothing. And it's not their fault, it's just that the fruit is the wrong size. So the cost of that must be huge, and it really must hurt.
Absolutely, absolutely. It definitely does. So we generally try to hit X amount of bends per shift, and if we make a bunch of stop and go changes, those bends that we're going to run per shift are going to decrease, sometimes exponentially.
So on the sales front, do you ever have times when the sales team have actually committed to an order, but then issues arise because you don't actually have the fruit that you thought you had?
Correct. We run into that all the time. So maybe the sales team is expecting large size fruit. They've made a bunch of sales to sell all this big fruit, and then all of a sudden they've got thousands and thousands of cartons put up of just small fruit. They don't know what to do with it, and then we sit on it for a month, and then it just gets repacked, which decreases money everywhere. Obviously, repack doesn't help anybody. Having a better idea of the size profile for each lot can help us tremendously.
Your commitment at Monson to continual improvement has seen Monson Fruit become one of the first premier packers to get their hands on Spectre top down. So you've now got this fantastic technology. You're now able to gain all of that critical early size data. But let's step back. Take us through what you were doing before you had Spectre top down. What did early size sampling look like for your team?
So basically, we would rely on people out in the receiving docks to hand size all these apples, which, as you can imagine, are not going to be very accurate. They've got ring sizers, and a lot of them are just hand sizing them. They're feeling, oh, this feels like an 88, this feels like a 138, but that's not efficient, that's not accurate. Having Hectre will allow us to grab 200, 300, 400 apples a bin at 20, 30 bins sometimes on a truck. So that gives us a lot more data, a lot more apples, and a lot quicker too.
The size sample that you were achieving through that really manual process, what did that look like?
We were trying to do about 50 apples a truck, and so that could be pretty time consuming, to be honest with you. Touching every apple, having to size it, having to make decisions, and sometimes decisions are rushed, and then those decisions can be wrong. We would skip trucks sometimes. I mean, you've got 10 trucks lined up, tempers are hot, it's 8 o'clock at night, everyone wants to go home, and so you kind of just start skipping over stuff. Oh, we'll check that tomorrow, and then it never gets done, stuff like that.
From our experience dealing with packers worldwide, the pace of receiving means that most packers face exactly the same challenges as you've outlined. The time and the cost involved just to get a small sample of fruit is major, and unfortunately, due to that small size of sampling and the subjective nature of it, it's actually really unreliable, and it's really challenging, isn't it, to be able to make informed decisions.
Absolutely. It's huge to have a program that we can receive the size information 10 times faster than we were ever able to. It helps us create better business decisions, and then, like I mentioned earlier, just increases overall FOBs and value to everybody, including the grower.
I know when we were talking the other day about when Spectre top down was first brought to your attention, that there was quite a degree of skepticism. And I know you've got a fantastic team there who are always looking out for new innovations that are going to help bring efficiency and, you know, really help with the return to the grower. But skepticism is quite a natural thing, particularly when it comes to new technology. Can you talk us through that a little bit?
Correct. Yeah, a lot of people were skeptical about it. We were worried it was going to be hard to implement it, but the proof is in the pudding. Basically, the results are there. They're very accurate, and they're a lot faster. It's a lot easier to get them. We've been doing our due diligence and receiving the information from you guys, and then breaking that down into a more legible, everyday type of data for our in-house staff. We've done a good job of getting the information from you guys very quickly. Your team has been all over, just help supporting us in getting this information and allowing us to build these programs or in-house programs to utilize this data, to separate the data for every lot or every grower coming in, and then just to make it more user-friendly for all of us.
Yeah, I've been super impressed with hearing all about the great work your team have been doing. Now I'd like to share a little bit of inside info with you. So our teams at Hectre are continually checking out all of the bin images that are coming across from spec to top down. They're checking to make sure that people are following best practice. They're giving tips back to users so that they can get the optimal benefit from spec to top down. And they're also checking out the volumes that are coming through. And I'm excited to tell you that Monson Fruit are the current record holders for the most trucks scanned by spec to top down in any single day at a single site. So that's pretty epic.
That's awesome. That's good to hear. It's good to hear that we're actually utilizing it like I'm saying we are. That's very good news. So yeah, I mean that just kind of shows how busy we can get on any given day, and how important Hectre has become to us.
Your record is 43 trucks scanned by spec to top down in one day just at one site. And my simple maths means that if we look at 43 trucks, and even if there are only 24 bins on the top layer, Spectre can scan all of those top bins, and Spectre top down will detect and size at least 100 apples from each bin. And when you go 43 times 24 times around 100, you come up with a sample size of 103,000 apples.
In one day, that is absolutely incredible. I mean, it would take a full team of 10 people a week to do something like that.
And when we look back and think about the size sample that you were gaining previously when you only had manual size sampling available, I think it's something like a 4,000% increase in your size sample. It's just a crazy, crazy number.
Absolutely, way more than I can comprehend.
What does having access to that level of data at such speed mean for your operation, Jared?
So I'm going to use maybe some jargon terms as an example. So let's say we have lot 100 coming in. Maybe our production operator says, hey, lot 100 is coming up in maybe 5 minutes. We can pull that up in our in-house program. We can search lot 100. Let's say the variety's a Honeycrisp. We can go lot 100. Honeycrisp, we can see exactly how many trucks were received on any given day, or we can take an average and see the peak size and peak color on that lot, which, like I mentioned earlier, helps us quite a bit, helps us prepare for the next lot and basically reduce downtime.
And hopefully it also means that you stay in the good books with your sales team.
The good books of everybody.
Sometimes implementing new technology can be quite challenging for people. Any change can be difficult, and technology, sometimes there's a bit of fear and the unknown and concern around how easy or hard it might be to implement technology. So we put a lot of effort at Hectre to try and make sure that implementation and the user experience is as simple as possible. How did your teams find things with implementing spec to top down?
With top down, it was scary for some people who maybe have been here a few years, who are used to their old system. It is a little bit tricky to implement some new tools. especially technology with people in general. I would say that they've done a phenomenal job, and Hector's done a phenomenal job at making the program very user friendly. It's mainly based on, you have your dashboard, you have what day you're on, you've got your variety, your truck. You can label the truck, whatever truck number if you want. Hector assigns you a group ID, which is very nice, and that's what we use for in-house tracking. And then basically all they have to do is select the lot number, variety, and then hit video recording, and then the program does the rest. They stop the recording after the truck has passed by, and they move on with their life. It's very easy.
You've had Spectre top down now for nearly 2 months, Jarrett, and you obviously saw that there were benefits there when you signed on. But now that you've actually got access to the data and you're seeing all the information come through, is it a pretty easy decision to know that the return for the business is going to be a really positive one?
Correct, absolutely. I think this was kind of a no-brainer at this point. The data that we've collected for this year has been phenomenal. And it's helped us make some decisions that might have been a little harder to make. This is a lower crop year in the industry, and so it's allowed us to hopefully yield higher FOBs in the long run. We have, like I said, better size, better color data, so that'll allow us to basically hold the fruit to exactly peak prices in the market.
Thanks so much for taking time out of what I know is a really busy day for you to share your experience. Really do appreciate it. You've been great to speak with.
Oh, thank you so much.